many works of art never see the light of day because their creators have no time or space to develop them? The 19th century American composer, Edward MacDowell, asked himself that question and came up with a special answer. On his remote New Hampshire farm, he had the ideal retreat for an artist who thrives in solitude. And in this small studio, away from the main house, he composed some of his greatest music. Edward MacDowell and his wife Miriam dreamed of a day when other artists could share this environment. After Edward's death, Marian MacDowell spent the rest of her life raising money and building the MacDowell Colony, a place where creative people can work in the privacy of their own studios. Despite the seclusion, no one gets lonely here. Breakfasts and dinners are served at the main house. Here, painters, composers, sculptors, writers, and filmmakers meet for lively discussions. Some of the most famous people in the arts have met at these tables. Willa Cather, James Baldwin, Stephen Vincent Bennet, Leonard Bernstein, Aaron Copland, Thornton Wilder. For 20 years, Lester Stevens has delivered lunch to each of the 42 studios. He drops baskets quietly at the doorstep, so no one is disturbed. In 70 years, 6,000 artists have come to MacDowell. They stay for an average of 2 months and often return to work on other projects. The colony is supported by grants and endowments. Artists pay only what they can afford, and a third of them are not charged at all. Carson Kievman is a young composer who is working on a piece commissioned by the Boston Symphony, and he has recently discovered the value of this idyllic isolation.
It's so profoundly beautiful. You really get the sense that you're in the wilderness here. It's difficult, really, to be a creative artist and live in an environment where there's constant distraction, such as New York City or whatever it is, whatever the situation. It means telephones, going to work, family. I walk into the studio and I'm free. I have no thoughts whatsoever that in any way I'll be interrupted from the flow of concentration.
Although most visitors to the colony sleep in community dormitories, married couples can share a live-in studio. Hannah Green goes off to her own work studio each morning, and her husband, artist John Wesley, stays here to paint. He has come to MacDowell to prepare for a show at a New York gallery.
For me, the most attractive thing about the colony, and I think to many people, is an opportunity to be in these woods. I think particularly people who come here from the West Coast or from Texas, for instance. There are 3 Texans here now. These woods are a joyous experience. I find that I do more work here than I would anywhere else, perhaps because of the easy situation. Well, there's no telephone, for one thing, and everything else comes with great regularity in meals. And of course, that's very important for a person in my field.
Hannah Green is an author, professor, and literary critic who recently received a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts to write a new novel. Removed from all her city activities, she has also found this gift of time personally enriching.
I find that I always make new friends when I'm here. There's always somebody wonderful that I meet for the first time. We each have our studios, and our studios are absolutely our own private property. They're sacrosanct, and we come and work in them. Nobody comes to interrupt us. And I find that it has a wonderful effect on my work to be able to have this kind of privacy.
Not everyone who comes to the MacDowell colony works better, but the impact on most artists was well expressed by Leonard Bernstein, who said, "A reasoning, thinking man and a creative artist is much more alone among people than he is by himself, and he is much more active by himself than he is in action."